Hi everyone, and welcome to episode number 8 of our ConfigMas 2023. My name is Johan, and in this demo I will show you some additional tips and tricks that you can add to your task sequences when going production in ConfigManager. And that means demo time. So once again, here is the ConfigMan environment I've been using for this series. Yesterday I showed you some changes we did to the production 2 sequence. Today I made a copy of that one, call it production 3. In this production 3 sequence, I added in a script here called save task sequence variables. This is a script that I borrowed from ViaMonstra. I have a link to it right here, and I will post this link below in the description as usual. But this script will save out to a log file most of the task sequence variables, not all of them, because there are some of them that actually contains sensitive information from a security point of view. But please note the location where I put it. I'm putting it before I'm copying my log files, because it will save that log file in the same log folder as everything else. And that means I will also have a copy of those variables up on my server when I'm done with my deployment, no matter if it's a successful deployment or if it's a failed deployment. Now, also when working with production deployments, you learned earlier about driver management. But these days, from a security point of view, from a functionality point of view, you also need to apply BIOS updates. And I prefer to use the same method as I'm using for drivers. So I'm using the solution from the MS Endpoint Manager team. And if you might remember from last year, for those of you that followed me then, I did a session, episode 12, on the backend setup of this. So a step-by-step guide on how to set it up. But long story short, if I go to my software library here, I have a few BIOS packages that I've downloaded using the driver automation tool. And then here I have prepared a sequence that I'm using for BIOS updates. This sequence, I can boot the device on standalone, I can push it out to existing machines, or I can add it to one of my normal production sequences. So I'm setting some variables, username and password for the service account. I have one script that downloads the right package if available, and then for each vendor there is a unique script. And of course these actions, for example the Dell BIOS update 1, will have a condition to only run if it's a Dell machine. Now, what if I want to have this in my production sequence? Well, I have two options here. One option is to just open them side by side. So if I go back to my production sequence, put it over here, I can copy that entire section and paste it somewhere around here. You want to have it just before this step here, because this step does a reboot. And every time you do a BIOS update, there will be a reboot required. So instead of having to reboot twice, I'm going to go ahead and remove that one and just leave the default one that does a reboot anyway. Another option is to get rid of this and instead just create a BIOS group. And add in a reference to another sequence. So this is a nested sequence. And I will select my BIOS update sequence. The benefit of this is, of course, if I'm making changes to this one, I don't have to make a change in all the other sequences using it. But it doesn't matter which option you use here, the result will be the same. But this is how you add in BIOS updates to a task sequence. That's all I had for today. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.